they always warned. Since ancient times, in the most isolated places, in communities that almost no one knows about, it was said that some rituals simply should not be performed. It was not a joke. It was not superstition. It was not something created to scare children. It was a real warning, a dark reminder that there are things in the world that were not meant to be discovered. But human curiosity is stronger than fear. It always has been. And it was exactly this curiosity that led Matthias to live the worst nightmare of his life. Matthias was an ordinary young man. He worked during the day, studied at night, and led a relatively normal life. But there was a side of him that few people knew about. He was fascinated by mysteries, by forbidden legends, by everything that most people simply prefer to ignore. He spent hours diving into obscure internet forums, watching strange videos, reading accounts of people who claimed to have vivid supernatural experiences, until one morning he came across something that seemed different from anything he had ever seen. It was a hidden topic, almost impossible to find, with a direct and frightening title, Night Whisper Ritual. Never do it. At first, he thought it would be another one of those urban legends created to scare the curious. But as he read on, he realized that it had too many details to be just a fabrication. The text explained each step with disturbing precision. It said that the ritual should be performed at exactly 3 in the morning, in a completely dark room where no ray of light could enter. It was necessary to have a mirror positioned in front of it, a lit candle, and above all, an offering. But it couldn't be anything. The necessary offering has enormous sentimental value, something that is directly linked to the essence of the soul of the person making it. Matthias spent hours thinking about what he could use. It needed to be something truly meaningful, something that carried memories, pain, longing. And that's when he remembered the last photo he had with his father, an old photo taken when he was still a child, shortly before he tragically lost his father. That photo was the most valuable memento he had. Even with a heavy heart, he decided it would be her. After all, part of him still didn't believe that it would really work. When it struck 2:59 in the morning, Matthias was already in the room, with everything ready. The mirror was right in front of the bed. The lit candle, flickering, cast distorted shadows on the walls. And right in the center, on a black cloth, was the photo of his father. The room was so silent that he could hear his own breathing getting heavier, shorter, faster. And when the clock turned exactly 3 in the morning, he began. The first step was simple, at least without paper. He had to stare at the mirror and repeat the phrase 3 times. Show me what shouldn't be seen. Shh. First time I said it, nothing happened. The second time, I felt a slight discomfort, as if the air had become denser. And when I said it for the 3rd time, something simply changed. The reflection in the mirror was no longer the same. The walls were different. The room seemed wrong, distant, corrupted. As if it no longer reflected reality, but rather a distorted version of it. In the corner of the mirror, a shadow began to appear. At first it was small, almost imperceptible. Then it grew, taking shape, spreading like living smoke. It had no face, no eyes, no mouth. It was just darkness. A darkness that seemed to breathe, move, observe. And then Matthias heard it. A voice, It wasn't just any voice. It didn't come from his ears. It came from inside his own head, as if someone was speaking directly to his mind. And that voice said slowly, drawn out, heavy, "You called me." His heart almost stopped. He tried to move, but his body didn't respond. He was completely paralyzed, as if something invisible was holding every muscle. A continuous voice, "Your offer is now mine." The candle went out on its own, and when he looked at the center, the photo of his father simply disappeared. In its place, there was only a strange mark, as if a hand had been burned on the black cloth. For a few seconds, Matthias thought it was all over. But he quickly realized that that was just the beginning. In the days that followed, things began to change. It started with noises, footsteps in the hallway, even when there was no one at home. Doors that opened by themselves in the middle of the night. Whispers that came out of nowhere. And worst of all, whenever he passed in front of the mirror, he didn't just see his own reflection. There was always something or someone standing behind him. The nights were torment, nightmares so real that he woke up sweating, screaming, with the feeling that he was still inside them. And in these dreams, the scene was always the same. Oh, the room! Oh, the mirror! The candle was out, and the shadow, always there, always watching, always waiting. And each night, the shadow seemed to be closer, more defined, more present, until, in one of these nightmares, the voice returned. And it said something that made his blood run cold. "You can't undo what's already been done." Matthias tried everything. He threw the mirror away. He broke the candle. He burned the black cloth. But nothing worked. Wherever he went, the feeling of being present followed him. The lights in the house found the fault without explanation. Electronic devices turned on and off by themselves. Objects moved around. And at times, he could have sworn he felt a cold hand touch his shoulder, even though he was alone. The climax happened one morning, exactly 1 week after the ritual. He woke up to 3 sharp knocks on his bedroom door. When he opened his eyes, he saw that, even with the lights off, the mirror he had thrown away was back, whole, without cracks, positioned exactly where it had been on the night of the ritual, and reflected in it, there was no longer just the room. The shadow was there, on the other side, watching, motionless, waiting. Desperate, Matthias tried to run, scream, call for help. But you see, I couldn't leave the room. The door, which until then seemed normal, simply wouldn't open anymore. And it was at that moment that the voice spoke again. "Now you belong to me." The candle that should have been turned off lit up by itself. And in the reflection, he saw not just the shadow, but his own face. Only it was no longer his face. It was a corrupted, distorted, pale version with completely black eyes and a wide, grotesque smile that didn't match any possible human expression. The next morning, when Matthias's mother entered the room, she found everything exactly as he had left it days before. The mirror was clean. The candle was intact. The father's photo, curiously, had come back, but completely burned, unrecognizable. And Matthias simply was no longer there. No sign, no clue, just an emptiness, just silence. They say that to this day, whoever tries to do the Night Whisper ritual runs the risk of never being the same again. That the shadow is still there, lurking, waiting for the next soul who is excited, or foolish, enough to summon that which should not be called. And now, a question that won't go away. Would you have the courage to ask it? If you want, I can bring you more stories like this. But I warn you, there are stories that shouldn't even be told. Because once you hear, they start to know that you exist.